What's up, gang? It is Brad Bodnerchuk back with a double, I don't know what I was going to say, a double banger, double episode week. And I just wrapped up a session with my therapist. And I felt like the other day when I released the self-awareness podcast, I unfortunately didn't give any of you any tools on how to increase your own level of self-awareness. And I wanted to share a few things that you can implement or try to see if they work for you. And before I say anything, there's something inside of me that just doesn't like the idea of top 10 things too, or the most impactful three. And I've done it myself. You can go on my podcast, you can go on my YouTube channel, you can probably go through my Instagram page and see me doing it. And while sure, I get it from a capturing attention and getting people to read your blog post or listen to your podcast. But the biggest thing that you can do to increase your level of awareness is do anything. Choose one thing, but just do it consistently. Consistency is going to be the thing that differentiates, you from anyone else. It's going to be what differentiates you from who you are now as 2023 closes and who you want to be in 2024. And I'm really talking to myself, by the way. Consistency is key in building self-awareness. Consistency is key in building a business, in building a body, in building a bank account, in building a successful relationship, friendships. Consistency is key. Prove me wrong. I look at fitness as an example, and it does not matter what you choose to do to get fit. You can choose an omnivore diet. You can choose a vegan diet. You can choose Pilates, you can choose hot yoga, you can choose CrossFit, you can choose bodybuilding. It doesn't matter. Choose one of them and do not abandon it for a year, 18 months, 2 years, and see what happens. So if you want to become more self-aware, be consistent. But if you want something a little more tangible than that, I can give it to you. Here are some things that I think you can do to become more self-aware. And I started with probably the most important one first. So I'll work backwards. Consistency trumps everything else. Skill, all of it. Next would be, sorry, I'm pausing here to think of my next words. Next is going to be get some help. And this is coming from a guy who just came out of a therapy session, which was beyond eye-opening, super painful, by the way, kind of like a workout. Emotionally and spiritually, but my God, you want to increase your self-awareness? Hire someone to tell you things that you are afraid to tell yourself or you can't see. So get help, and that could mean therapy. That could also mean a coach, a consultant, something. Seek an exterior resource that will help you build awareness. And that's what my therapist does for me. That's what, as difficult as it is for me at times, my partner, Lindsay, does for me. That's what my kids do for me, for sure. They make me really aware of where I am weak as a father, where I am weak as a parent. And it's not always easy. And that's where we avoid it, right? That's where a lot of us, especially in impactful leadership roles, we don't want to have anyone tell us that we aren't great, or at least it's really difficult to hear. But finding an exterior resource is one of the quickest ways that you can increase your level of self-awareness. Next, I would say reach out to your team. And I mentioned this in my last podcast. Doesn't matter the size of your team, seek feedback from them and say, look, how am I showing up for you as a leader? Be as honest as you can be, which for some of them may be a challenge because maybe they're afraid that you're going to fire them. So you got to navigate that. And that probably is a whole other podcast, a whole other issue. If your team doesn't trust to be honest with you, then there's an issue there. But seek feedback from your team. Seek feedback from your friends. Another great one is writing. Just the other day, I sat down and wrote things that they were really challenging to write, but it was me taking time to sit down with a pen and a paper, no phone, no music, nothing, and just write. And through that, I became more self-aware about some issues that I've got, some issues that I want to work through. So writing is a great one. Meditating is another great one. Tell me how you can't become more self-aware of your bogus thoughts when you sit in silence with nothing else, whether you're doing guided meditation or not. When you shut down everything, that's when all the ugly stuff comes up. So meditate to increase your level of self-awareness. My last one that I thought about earlier today, which is going to sound really silly, and that's okay, is drink water. Drink water, become more self-aware. And you're likely sitting there saying, how is drinking water going to help me become more self-aware? It's just happened. Because you're probably asking yourself, when is the last time I drank water? Set a target for a gallon a day and just watch what happens. How much water do you actually drink? You doing that is becoming self-aware of, man, I drink a lot of water or I don't drink enough. It is simple things like that. It's beautiful in its simplicity. And I said this the other day on one of my walks. I said, don't focus on, and I'm talking to myself here just so you know, and anyone else that wants to listen, don't focus on these big giant leaps. Don't set these ridiculous goals. Let me correct that. Set whatever goals you want to set. But then you need to focus on what are the small steps that I need to do each and every day to help me get there. And one of the very first things you must do as a leader, as someone who just has any ambitions, you have to understand where you're currently at today. Where are you today? That is the self-awareness piece. And if you aren't aware of where you are at, how do you know where to begin? If you aren't aware of where you're weak, how do you know where to get strong? You don't. So we must find a way to seek a level of self-awareness. And today, for me, just 25 minutes ago, I increased my level of self-awareness because I was lucky enough and able to spend time with a very special, caring, and talented therapist that was able to help me see a lot of BS. And that's not easy to say, but that's what is true. I didn't want to leave you with the podcast that just said, become more self-aware. Okay, great, Brad. Well, then how? And I don't know what's going to work for you. And I think it's a bit silly, this top 5, top 10, these lists. Just pick one of the things and just do it consistently. Don't give up on it. And this is for anything in life, not just building self-awareness, anything in life. Pick something, stick to it, and do not abandon it until you can categorically say, I've given it 100% effort and I've given it all the time that I feel it needs. And I think when you're really honest with yourself, with yourself, you have to sit there and say, could I give more? Should I do another month of this nutrition plan or another month of this boxing studio, whatever it is, another month of this therapy, whatever it is? You'll know if you actually allow for there to be space where you can just give yourself honest feedback. And being self-aware is about giving yourself honest feedback, even at times when it's really difficult. I'll leave you with that. Have a fantastic weekend. Be ridiculously good to each other. Seek growth. You know what to do until next time. Be good and do good. Peace.